We're recording. Episode 1 of the outside the box Cabo Club Podcast thing. So I feel like this is pretty decent. We're gonna see how well this picks up the sound.
Sounds good.
But yeah, this is the first experience. We're sitting out on the Cabo San Lucas Marina right now, enjoying an incredibly beautiful sunny day. People watching. There's some interesting characters walking by today, but yeah, it's another beautiful day, and I'm here with my boy Ari, co-worker and friend, and also Choyero, which means he was born and raised here. Ari, why don't you tell me what it's like growing up in Cabo, man?
Well, it definitely has been an experience seeing it change so much over the last, 25, 30 years. Cabo has seen an incredibly fast transformation, and I think we're all excited to see where it's going. But it's also really changed the town. I'm sure you've even seen it from being down here for a couple of years, that there's construction everywhere right now. People are really excited to be coming down. And yeah, tons of stuff to do. Within 2 hours. Tons of great people. Really good food. What can we say?
That was one of the things that kind of blew my mind when I first moved down here, was the fresh food, and especially the fresh seafood that you got down here. One thing that I didn't know about Cabo until I moved down here, obviously, was that the water and the fish in this water have been tested to be the cleanest fish in the world, I'm pretty sure.
Really?
Yeah, because you know how there's like those plastic particles that are like microbes that get stuck in fish, and people are eating them and their food and all that jazz. They did a whole study, and I guess we have some of the cleanest fish in the entire world here.
Really? I had no idea.
Spot. Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't doubt it. There's just so much ocean around here, and the Sea of Cortez has been particularly well protected. So I wouldn't doubt that we have some really good fish, at least close by to the water. I mean, close by to land.
I love it. Are you a fisherman?
I am not. Sadly, I get a little seasick when I get on boats. I do have to say that I do love my seafood down here. We have some great ceviche. I'm not sure how many people... I'm surprised how many people in the States haven't actually had like ceviche as fresh as we get to have it down here, just because we have so much fish. So
I didn't have ceviche until I moved down here.
Really?
I had no idea what it was. I think I had really bad ceviche one time, and it gave me a bad taste in my mouth. And then my buddy gave me some really good local stuff from down here, John, and yeah, then I fell in love.
That's the thing, you gotta, for a good ceviche, and in my opinion, good sushi, you need to have really fresh fish. Like, the fresher, the better this stuff is. So, that's one of the reasons we have some great, seafood life down here.
Oh, man.
Good spots to check out.
So you're not a fisherman. What are some of the things you love doing down here? Did you grow up doing anything specifically?
Well, one of my favorite things to do down here is actually camping. Yeah, camping down here is awesome, and there's still plenty of beaches that you can find, and they're empty, and I love just waking up to the beach and the sound of the waves and being right there in nature for at least a couple of hours. And one of the beauties about being down here in Cabo San Lucas is that you have quick access to both the Pacific Ocean and the Sea of Cortez. So they're both different, but they're both awesome, and they both have their own characteristics. So, for example, when we like to go camping out to the Sea of Cortez, you get to watch these gorgeous sunrises over the water. And when you go camping out in the Pacific Ocean, you get to see some incredible sunsets over the water as well in that direction. So it just kind of depends on what you're looking for.
Oh, man. Some of the prettiest sunsets and sunrises here.
Tons.
Just insane.
Yeah, we're very blessed with that one.
I was stoked on some of the ones that you and me saw on our trip up to Loreto.
Good to Loreto. So, yeah, as we were saying, there's just so much stuff to do within 2 hours from here. And 2 hours from here, you've got La Paz a little bit further up north. On the Pacific side, you've got Todos Santos, Cerritos, Elias Calles, Migriño, and then on the Sea of Cortez, you've got just from here to La Paz on that loop. You've got San Jose, you have La Fortuna, you have Nine Palms, Cabo Pulmo, La Ribera, Los Barriles, La Ventana. There's just so much stuff to do on that side, and we're not even talking about just the stuff in the middle of the mountain range, because a lot of people, when they come down here on cruise ships, they only really get to see the marina of Cabo San Lucas, because they only get about 4 or 5 hours out of the boat, out of the big cruises. And when people come down here on trips to all-inclusive resorts, they tend to also stay a little bit more inside of the resort and relax, and that's perfectly valid. They're gorgeous resorts. There's great food.
Right.
But within 2 hours, if you rent a car, you get to go see all these great places on both the Pacific Ocean and the Sea of Cortez. And a fun thing about the Baja is that it's a big mountain in the middle. That slopes down in both directions, and that mountain is called La Sierra de la Laguna.
La Sierra de la Laguna.
And it's incredible how fast just the ecosystem changes when you start going up this mountain. You get into the middle of the mountain range, and everything is green. There's tons of bigger trees. The climate becomes a little bit cooler during the summer, and it's just really fun to be able to be right by the water, and then an hour and a half later be in the middle of just all this green, super luscious vegetation up in the middle of the mountains. So a lot of stuff to do over there in Miraflores, Caduaño, Santiago, all these towns.
And for people that don't know, there's a few waterfalls in the mountains back up there that are just gorgeous places to visit too.
Yeah, we got out there in the mountain range. You can go to Sol de Mayo. You can go over to San Dionisio. There's just, again, this is where we get most of our water. It rains up in the Sierra. It fills up our reservoirs, and then it runs down through the rivers and the creeks into these waterfalls, and that's where we get a lot of our fresh water from. So it's a lot of fun during the season. That's usually around the summer times.
So just, I wasn't expecting as much land diversity when I first came down here as what there is. I wasn't expecting to see mountains like there are down here. Not like Colorado mountains, but I would still I would label them a mountain and not a hill.
Yeah, definitely. Even when you first get over to San Jose, to the San Jose airport, and you get off the plane and you're on the tarmac, because that's what you do down here, and you walk a little bit. You just get out of that plane and you look over to your left and you see the huge mountain range right out of the bat. So I remember when I grew up here, and that was very normal to me, to have big mountains. I'm sure that it was for you as well in Colorado. But when I got to go study college up in Chicago, it was flat. You couldn't see a mountain. You would have to get on a big skyscraper to kind of appreciate the full panorama of the region when you're overlooking, the Michigan Lake or Lake Michigan. And it made me really appreciate when I came back here just how pretty those mountains are.
It's crazy when you live somewhere that's so beautiful and different from what other people get to, and you don't really appreciate it until you leave and realize that you're like, oh, I miss these things that I got to see every morning when I woke up that I don't get to see anymore.
Yeah, or the weather.
Or the weather.
Yeah, the weather down here is fantastic. Oh. At least for most of the year. It gets a little hot for me during September.
Well, and the going joke that as I understand it is, you've made it in Cabo when you don't live in Cabo the month of September. Because that's
I could definitely agree with that.
That's the big storm month is September. Technically, hurricane season doesn't end until like end of November, I think, officially. But September is when the big rains and the winds typically happen the most. So for those who can afford to, they dip out and go on vacation for September.
Yeah, it's not uncommon that a lot of people that are particularly in sales in our industry, in real estate, during that month decide to, since we're so busy during the rest of the year, there's so many people looking at places and stuff like that, that's about the month where we can say, okay, pause. We're gonna take off for a minute when it's really hot and kind of annoying for us to be down here. And again, not to say that these months aren't gorgeous for other things.
Right.
I love the rain.
October is the greenest month here because it's just after the rains, and it's insane the color differences.
Yeah, and Cabo, it really is gorgeous during the rain. It can get a little chaotic because of our roads. Mm-hmm. But again, it's the difference between just having sunny days 350 days out of the year. Those
kind of makes up for it.
Yeah, you enjoy those couple of days where you get it. And we don't really get hurricanes that often, so it's basically just the rainy. You get to enjoy some rain.
Were you here for the last big rainstorm or ordeal back in 2014?
No, I actually wasn't. I was my freshman year of college, and I didn't get to experience what ordeal was. People say that it was quite an interesting experience with just seeing the sheer power of these storms. But from what I understand, the town did really well afterwards. There was a lot of renovations that happened, a lot of insurance money that came in too. So,
and they brought in, I think, the National Guard too, a whole National Guard station post out near the toll road. No?
Yeah, that's one of the things that's interesting about Cabo is just the safety. I never really realized how safe it was because I grew up here until I left, and then you had to be a little bit more careful where you were at, particularly if you're in a big city like Chicago, and you don't want to be walking with your phone in your back pocket, or you don't want to be
would you feel safer walking around the streets of Chicago or the streets of Cabo at night?
Definitely Cabo, at least in certain areas. And you could say the same thing about Chicago. Maybe I just was
Valid.
Maybe I was just never that comfortable as I was down here. But I mean, growing up, we'd party and enjoy the time down in downtown Cabo San Lucas, where all the bars are. Mm-hmm. And you finish off at 2, 3 in the morning, and a 15-20 minute walk back home wasn't something that was scary. I'm not quite sure if it would be today. I haven't been doing that very much lately, but
well, when you have responsibilities and jobs and things.
But yeah, Cabo, when ordeal happened, I believe that people were a little bit scared of what could happen with just society when you have such a big storm and stores get a little bit destroyed and all that kind of stuff. So they sent some extra support from the Guardia Nacional and the military. And they came down to Cabo and they stayed and they would patrol in the police trucks with on the back you would just have military just double checking with they drive around with a gun and they're just driving around just making sure that everything's all right. And since they brought him down and realized that it was actually it made people feel a little bit more protected and safe, I guess they decided to stay. I mean, they made a base for them. Yes, it was from what I understand, it's a combination between part government. The government put some money into it, but then also a lot of private initiative, like the main hotels, put some money into building a big development for the military. So we just got a very nice military presence that's just here to protect the Cabo area, because it's so unlike the rest of Mexico. So safe compared to a lot of mainland Mexico that is nowhere near as safe as down here.
See, and I've never been to mainland Mexico, so I don't really have a good reference point other than people who have been telling me. And you always have Google as your semi-friend, but also you gotta do actual research if you're gonna really believe some of the stuff you find. So it's interesting to hear no gracias. It's interesting to hear just the differences, I guess. But it makes sense because in the U.S. it's the same. It's not like issues in New York or things I worry about in Colorado. So.
Yeah, again, Mexico is a fascinating and incredible country with so much diversity, so many great people, so large and interesting. But it's nowhere. It's not safe everywhere. It's very different from place to place, and Cabo, for better or for worse, is like some kind of mix between between Mexico and San Diego. You get tons of Americans and Canadians that decided to make this their home. You got a big expat community down here, including my father, who have moved down here 25, 35, 40 years ago, and they decided to make Cabo their home and grow up here and have their children here and have their families here. And that has transferred a lot of that culture, that American and Canadian and westernized culture, towards the paradise that Cabo is, very much combined with the local community of Mexicans that we had here, and a lot of people that have come from the mainland. There's a funny joke that Mazatlan, Sinaloa is a city on the Pacific side over in on the mainland. It's in the state of Sinaloa, and it's known for just having gorgeous beaches and just incredible good food, and it's a very, very pretty place. But it's a city, it's bigger, and one of the jokes over there is that the most expensive place to live in Mazatlan is Los Cabos. Because so many people from Mazatlan moved over to Cabo San Lucas.
That's funny.
So literally, my mother's from Mazatlan, Sinaloa.
Okay.
And a lot of the wealthier entrepreneurs that are down here, like Mr. Neto Coppel, who's the developer and owner of the Pueblo Bonito hotel chain down here that's very popular, and also the founders of Kibira, the development that's also here in Cabo San Lucas. It's also from Mazatlan, Sinaloa. And a lot of people from the inner sides of Mexico, like Mazatlan and Sonora, and nowadays a lot of people from Mexico City also are finding that Cabo is home for them. That Cabo has become a better fit for them than being in mainland Mexico. And it could be this combination of the Western and the Mexican culture down here. It could be our gorgeous beaches, our proximity to the United States. Who knows, but they have made this town into what it is, a very, very pretty and secure and hybrid town of cultures.
Definitely a hybrid, especially Cabo San Lucas. There's so many expats that come and visit, and tourists and people, but I'm noticing that it's also getting much more world renowned. People from Europe coming over here with the direct flights from Madrid, Spain, and all that jazz.
The airport's incredible down here. That's one thing that I think also ends up being a massive bonus to people, and a huge amenity of Los Cabos is the incredibly good connected airport that we have down here. The international airport in San Jose del Cabo has some of the most amazing flights directly to major cities in the United States. So literally when I was living up in Chicago for college, I had direct flights that were leaving from Cabo to Chicago like 4 times a week. Multiple flights. And I could jump on the plane at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the morning, and I would be in Chicago by noon. And they were not expensive flights.
That's important.
They were super, super efficient, even on the way back, because the way back also had direct flights, so I would get on a plane over there at 7 o'clock in the morning and be down here by 12 o'clock. And just that connectivity to direct flights to New York, Dallas, San Francisco, San Diego, LA, Salt Lake City, Seattle, all these major cities in the States. Nowadays, I even hear that the Twin Cities have a direct flight as well from Minnesota. So, for all the people that decide to make this their second home and spend down here 3 months out of the year, one of my uncles literally he lives in New York and comes down here for 2 to 3 days at a time, because for him, he'll do that. He'll just get on the plane at 7 in the morning, 8 o'clock in the morning, be here by 1 o'clock in his house, having some fish tacos on a Friday.
Right.
Enjoy all of Friday, all of Saturday, all of Sunday, fly back on the morning flight, and be back over there ready for work.
Bada boom, bada bing.
Bada boom, bada bing. So, again, that airport has been a great benefit towards people that live up in the States and in Canada, because there's a ton of flights to Canada.
Right.
But now we're getting those direct flights to Europe, which...
Huge. It's insane.
Yeah, we're all excited for what that's going to do for our local tourism.
Afternoon, guys. How are you guys today? I think I spoke loud enough.
Yeah, I think so. Maybe they're just browsing.
Afternoon, guys. How you doing? Good. Enjoying the day, I hope?
Yeah, so far.
Another beautiful day in Cabo, am I right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's...
It's really hard to complain with sunshine like this.
Yeah, it is.
Where are you guys from?
It's our first time.
It's your first? Well, welcome. Where are you guys from? Running away from the cold then.
You got it.
Well, enjoy it while you can. We're working here too while we're making this, so
Yeah, we're...
gotta be talking with people.
What else are you thinking, man? What are some other questions that people from the States usually have for locals?
Well, I don't want to just like bust through all the questions because right now we're just, because we guaranteed if we continue to do this and make these, we're gonna have to repeat these questions anyway because most people aren't gonna listen to all the podcasts and listen to all the things we do, so we're gonna have to repeat anyway. But we got. I mean, I so far I'm feeling really good. Like it's smooth, and we're just talking. And
Are we done?
no, but now I'm just keeping it casual and hanging out. But so I want it to be like a hangout thing. I want you and me to be just hanging out with a camera here, and then we can talk to people and say hello and get distracted. Not super much because we only have so much time, but yeah. But yeah, so then you were in Chicago for college. For how full 4 years?
That is correct. I was I get to study college up there in Chicago. It's actually a bit out on the outskirts, a smaller town called Wheaton College. So it was a full-on Chicago. I would go up to Chicago quite often to enjoy the city, but I was living up in the suburbs.
Okay.
As I was mentioning, Cabo grew up really fast, and education down here is great for basically all the way through high school. And high school prepared me enough and prepared a lot of my other classmates to be able to jump into the American system of education fairly easily. You do your exams the same way as people in the U.S. would. But we have just, at least studying down here, I haven't met anybody who did well in school down here having trouble making it into American colleges and the top American colleges. So education down here has been good. A lot of that stuff, it tends to be very bilingual. And these are all private schools. Public schools down here are not that great.
Okay, that's a good thing to highlight.
Yeah, public schools are not that great down here. Private schools definitely do connect you significantly better, and there's great universities in Mexico. I wanted to go to a college in the States, and my dad kind of wanted me to go as well, so it kind of aligned, and I got the chance to go up there. But tons of people decide to study here in Mexico, in Mexico City, Guadalajara, which is another of the major cities down here, Monterrey, which is another one of the major cities down in Mexico. So yeah. That kind of side, it's perfectly possible to have a family down here and have them educated into all the way through high school down here and still be prepared for world-class education and higher education.
That's good. Seems like with how quickly this place is growing, it seems like it's only inevitable the schooling system is going to have to grow and adapt to that as well. Especially with how many people are coming over from all over the Western Hemisphere. Yeah. Mexico, mainland Mexico, the U.S., Canada, even South America people. I've met a couple people from there. One of my buddy down here is from El Salvador. It's kind of fun talking with him about all of his experiences. It's going to be fun. I hope to have him on one of these soon.
Mm-hmm. Well, that is That's a big thing about right now. Cabo has always, I think I've heard the term, a lot of people used to call Cabo the broke man's Hawaii.
The broke man's Hawaii. That's funny.
So if you were living up in the West Coast and didn't have Hawaii money to be having a place up in Honolulu or up in Kona or Hilo, you would consider getting something down here in Cabo because you still have incredibly good fishing and you still have really good weather, and you could be drinking your beer by the water in 2 hours instead of 5.5, 6 hours to Hawaii.
Right.
So people started just investing down here in real estate and realized that it's a very sound investment. So people might have just started doing it for fun, for kicks, because back then you could get places for super cheap.
Right.
And I mean, at least compared to nowadays. And people started making these returns and investing more into the area and hedging against the possibility of stuff in the States as well, which is interesting to see nowadays. A lot of people hedging against, I don't know what's happening up in the States and in Canada entirely for both sides of the political spectrum, but it seems like a lot of people decide who invest in real estate up in the States are like, okay, I'll have some commercial real estate over here in California. I'll have a couple duplexes to get some rental income, and then I'll also have my international short-term rental property in Los Cabos,
right? Because
that's also a proper addition to your
portfolio,
to your real estate portfolio.
Mm-hmm.
And my boss, Michael Scheible, loves to mention that we are in a resort real estate town. Their resort real estate does not move the same way as other real estate tends to move. There's only so much real estate right in front of the water.
Mm-hmm.
And Cabo has proven to be a desirable location. We can see guarantees now from some of the largest hotel chains in the world and brands such as the Four Seasons that's setting up in Cabo del Sol and in La Ribera. So two Four Season resorts down here. You have the Waldorf Astoria over in the Pedregal. You have the St. Regis over in Quivira.
Mm-hmm.
You have the Auberg residences, the Auberg over at Esperanza, which is also incredible. Las Ventanas El Paraíso, Palmilla.
Mm-hmm.
So these are all, they're rated at the top of resorts in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Not just Mexico, of the world.
Right.
And if these people and companies are deciding to invest millions and millions and millions of dollars in development down here in Cabo, it's because it's safe.
Right.
And because there's appreciation going on. Like when people ask me, "Oh, I'm scared to invest $200,000 in a condo down here," I mean, of course, you gotta start your due diligence and see what you're
you gotta make sure the numbers work for you.
Yeah, but I'm not too sure if I can invest $200,000 out here. If it's gonna be safe.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, well, these guys sure think so, and they're investing 15, 20, 30, 40 million dollars into down here.
Right.
These are not dumb people. They've done their research. They know that you can own property down here completely legit and completely safe, and it'll be a proper investment. So there's still time, and there's still a lot of space down here, and we're gonna see some very interesting development over the next couple of years, I'm sure.
I think so. I mean, shoot, we have this one across the way right here that's been a skeleton for the last 20 years.
Yeah, that's a sad story right there. Right here in the marina, pretty much anybody that's been coming down here for 20 years or less.
Show it off. That thing. Way in the back there. Gray structure. Oh, now it done goofed up. Now I gotta reposition. There we go. We're back.
Yeah, that piece of property started being developed about, I believe, close to 30 years ago. And from what I hear, it got taken over by the union, and they were fighting basically between the union of workers versus the developers, and then it went to court, and then it stayed in court for 20-something years. And eventually, one of the wealthier Mexican entrepreneurs down here decided to gather up some investment and they're developing it. So we finally see some dirt moving. I can see some people up there working right now. So that's going to be exciting to have a resort right there and have it.
When that's done, it's gonna look. It ought to look. I hope it looks good.
It's going to look incredible. I mean,
imagine the view from the top roof right up there.
The marina in Cabo San Lucas is also another very interesting thing. This area just has some gorgeous boats over on the other side.
Some of the luxury boats that you find here at this marina are insane. Some of these yachts.
Yeah, it's, and Cabo is also known for the Bisbees.
Right, the big fishing tournament.
Big fishing
The
tournament.
world's largest potted fishing tournament. Last year, I think it was $10 million to the winner.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So literally, those pictures and that season down here gets pretty exciting for the town. Just, it's been going on for quite a while as well, and we all get excited for the big Bisbee's fishing tournament when it happens.
Did you know John's fished it?
Yes.
He's never won it, but he's fished it. He's won a big tuna tournament, but not that one.
My good old friend John.
Oh man, he's the main fishing connection down here for me. And actually the guy who brought me down here, as you know. Yeah. This whole place is just, I only remember stories from what it used to look like when you were growing up here, and just the change. I could only imagine what it was from then to now, let alone what it's going to be from now 10, 15 years from now.
Well, a lot of, from what I hear, a lot of investment into this infrastructure is actually starting to happen, and hopefully that moves forward correctly. And we do have faith, and there's a lot of good people down here. That's one thing that I think we have noticed, and I think that when I grew up down here, I didn't realize until you leave. Not to say that people in Chicago are not nice, but when people travel down here and hang out in Cabo for a couple of weeks, a couple of months, one consistent thing I hear is, the people are so nice in Cabo. And people are nice. I might say, some people might say that people in San Jose del Cabo are a little bit nicer than people in Cabo San Lucas, since Cabo San Lucas tends to be a little bit more fast-paced and significantly more touristic. But again, they both have their sides. You're full San Jose side.
I'm full San Jose side. You're full Cabo side. I understand Cabo as a place to go when you want to do stuff and have a nightlife and go out or do something crazy. San Jose is where you go to just relax and listen to the ocean crash and have a beer on the beach. That's my opinion, or that's my feelings on that. Don't get me wrong, like I definitely haven't explored Cabo enough to really have a good opinion of Cabo. But with just the sheer amount of people in such a small area, Cabo just isn't my favorite place because of that. I like lesser people.
Yeah, again.
Personally.
Some people like the other side. I've
100%.
heard both sides. People say, how could I ever live in San Jose? It's so boring out there. I need my life down here. I need to be able to go to the marina and grab my boat and go to the water and come back and have some lunch over at the tiki bar with my friends, and then keep it going to the jungle bar and listen to some music with the band and
Cabo Wabo. Get some tequila and hang out with. Who owns it? Why am I blanking? Sammy Hagar. Oh man.
Or Los Cabos ambassador Sammy Hagar is a legend down here.
The Sammy Hagar.
He really is a legend down here.
Oh man, I have a small story about that. An ex of mine's mom was a groupie for Sammy Hagar for years, and it's the stories I heard and some of the things that she would tell me were just hilarious. God, that mom, she was so cool.
Yeah.
So the worst part is when you have an ex whose parents are dope, and you're like, man, I miss my other mom. But yeah, so when I first came down here, she told me all about Sammy Hagar and Cabo Wabo. I still haven't tried Cabo Wabo tequila. I've been wanting to, but I just haven't. It's kind of pricey. It's on the pricier side, at least.
Yeah, I don't think I've had it either. Not the Santos stuff.
I want to try it out. We'll get there eventually.
Cabo Wabo's definitely worth checking out. There's a lot of places down here that people refer to as tourist traps, just because they're mostly directed towards tourists.
Right.
Cabo Wabo tends to be considered one of them, but it's worth checking out. Definitely is.
It's a touristy spot, sure, but it's also a pretty decent spot from what I understand.
Oh, definitely.
And the exclusive Sammy Hagar concerts over there, I bet that'd be so cool to be a part of.
Yeah, he still celebrates his birthday out there every year, from what I understand.
We should try to go to one of those.
Yeah, let's go to the next one. This one just passed.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Let's try it for the next one. I like that idea.
Yeah, and to give you an idea of how he's been doing this tradition for quite a while, my parents' first date when they first went out was to see a Sammy Hagar birthday present, birthday gig. So like, I think my dad invited my mom out, and they went out to see the Sammy Hagar concert because it was just something that was happening in town.
How cool! That's a cool first date. Are you kidding me? What? How rad.
Yeah.
Afternoon, guys. How are y'all? Another beautiful day in Cabo. Hard to complain with sun like this, you know? Where are you guys from?
Minnesota.
Oh, all right. Colorado myself.
Okay.
Yeah, I traded the mountains for the beach.
Smart move.
Yeah, I don't regret it.
And we keep going this way to the beach.
Yeah, just keep going this way, hang a left, keep going straight, hang another left, and then keep going straight again.
Oh, thank you.
Of course. Oh, man. It is fun, this job, just getting to sit out in front and talk with random people from all across the world.
Yeah, but very strongly concentrated in the United States and Canada.
Yeah, there's a lot of gringos here. No, I'm one of them. So that's definitely a part of it. And that's another reason why I like San Jose. There's less gringos over there. Less people that just jump in and try to figure out, I don't know, how to make it more American, it seems like sometimes down here. Does that make sense?
Definitely.
And I want to be in Mexico. I want to be in Mexico. I want the traditions and cultures of Mexico. I don't... Like, it's cool, like, down here, they're always looking for a reason to set off fireworks, but 4th of July doesn't need to be super celebrated down here.
Well, it is.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
I know.
Again, we have fireworks pretty much every day down here.
Right, again, looking for any excuse to use fireworks, so I'm not complaining too much, but even still, you know, there's that aspect to it, too. I feel like San Jose is still a little more Mexico.
Well, how long have you been doing this for?
We're at like 30 minutes.
That's just 30
35.
minutes?
35, 40. Yeah. We could keep going. Honestly, I'm pretty comfy. You might be getting a little antsy, though.
I'm getting a little...
You getting a little antsy?
A little antsy. With the... So would you post this entire thing just straight, or would you...
I think that's the plan.
Yeah?
Just post it straight, see what happens.
So people asking, like, well, these guys don't know what they're doing, just...
Yeah, well, we're just being very honest about what we know and what we don't know, and what we don't know is podcasting. So we're trying it out, and we're gonna see what happens. But my biggest thing is I want to make a podcast that just seems real. I want people to feel like they're sitting in that other chair, hanging out with us, talking, and I'd love to expand out. I've seen guys do podcasts where like they go out and like they just grab random people walking by like, and ask a question. What's one piece of advice you'd like to give your younger self? And you ask that to 20 people in one day, you're gonna have a few clips in there.
Yeah, I guess.
So you're bound to.
Just depends again on where you want to make your podcast. This is your podcast, man.
I wanna make it just like a Cabo informational podcast. Not informational as in like, here are the things to do in Cabo. Go try these. I want it to be like, yo, you could go do this and that. Oh, what's new and upcoming? Oh my goodness, what's the crazy news this week? We're getting a roundabout fixed? Finally, this is the most dangerous part about living here. Oh, the roads? Oh, don't get me started on the roads. Medical care, it's super cheap even if you don't have insurance. I know, I got hit by a truck my 3rd month in. Stuff like that. Anyone who comes to Cabo and wants to do a little research beforehand, I want this to be something they find, and then maybe they come down. I'd love to show off local restaurants and places to go with feels less touristy, and maybe put up a few local families, help them with their business and their restaurant and or whatever it may be, you know.
Well,
that would be the goal.
very cool. Sounds like a good goal. You got a lot of content to create down here. There's a lot of stuff to show about Los Cabos and the Southern Baja. And again, we've been trying to shoot some more content together for other stuff. So I'm sure that you'll be sharing a lot of that stuff so people can start seeing what is out there in La Fortuna, what is out there in Cerritos, what is out there in Cabo Pulmo, what is out there in Los Barriles, because for most people that come down here, a fraction of them ever make it out to these places that are so pretty.
And it blows my mind. Whenever I come over here, it baffles me how many people never leave the marina of Cabo San Lucas.
Yeah, that's an interesting one.
I could never.
Because the marina's pretty, but it's definitely not the prettiest.
It's not the prettiest, it's not the cheapest, and it's definitely not the best. There's some, like that one spot you took me to the other day, with the barrias? It was
Barriles?
like, no, it was, oh crap. It was here in Cabo San Lucas. It looked like it was inside of like a school.
Oh, the food place.
Yes.
When we went to El Guarachazo.
El Guarachazo.
El Guarachazo.
Guarachazo.
The sandal.
Oh, that's what that means.
It's a sandal hit. So when you have a guarache, a sandal, and somebody said, te van a dar un guarachazo, which just basically means they're gonna slap you with a... Because back, a famous like Mexican saying is that Mexican mothers are overprotective and they're kind of on the matriarchal side of keeping the order. So if you have a very classical Mexican mother, if you behave bad, she would hit, te va a dar un guarachazo, like te portaste mal, toca guarachazo. And it's te pega con la chancla o...
Chancla, that's the word I know.
It's very similar thing. Te pega con la chancla o el chanclazo o el guarachazo. So that's just basically where that comes from. But it's a great local food spot. Mostly for... down here you call it comida corrida, which is you go out for lunch and you just want to go somewhere where it's easy that it's just going to have a fixed price for a simple dish with maybe an entrance soup, a little soup to start off, and some water, agua fresca, such as horchata or cebada or jamaica. And Guarachazo is one of those places where people go during their lunch hour. It's just dope.
The sky may be the limit, but space is the place to be.